welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely shift your paradigm for financial success. We're going to perform some deep psychological surgery on your mindset. Because look, if you've been struggling in the markets, if you feel like you keep hitting the exact same invisible walls over and over again, you are in the right place. We're bypassing the surface level stuff and going straight to the absolute root of trading psychology to uncover the true foundation for market success. Okay, let's kick things off with a massive pattern interrupt. You have probably heard this a million times. Just be more disciplined. Well, if you think discipline is the answer to your trading problems, you have been lied to, flat out. For years, the industry has told you that a lack of discipline is your ultimate downfall, that if you just magically followed your rules, you'd be consistently profitable. But honestly, based on the deep insights we're unpacking today, that is simply not true. The core problem isn't your strategy, and it actually isn't your discipline. And this right here absolutely shatters conventional wisdom. On one side, we have this pervasive myth that keeps traders trapped on an endless hamster wheel, blaming their strategy and their discipline. But on the other side, we have the reality staring right back at you in the mirror. The actual reason you keep self-sabotaging, the reason you keep repeating the exact same destructive cycles, is because you're trading with the completely wrong identity. You are literally trying to force a brand new profitable outcome through an old, deeply flawed version of yourself. So to rebuild a new trading self from the ground up, here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll break down the $2 million lie. Then we'll diagnose inherited money trauma. Third, we'll go through the dopamine detox. And finally, we'll wrap up with the 15-minute ritual. Let's jump right in. Section 1, the $2 million lie. Let's confront the hard truth about why you keep failing. $2 million? Actually, let's just pause for a second. Take a moment and let that staggering number really sink in. $2 million. That figure is exactly what it costs the source creator to learn this profound psychological truth. You see, most traders spend an entire lifetime chasing the perfect holy grail strategy, only to sabotage themselves time and time again. They revenge trade, they give in to insane FOMO, they randomly move their stop losses right in the middle of a trade, and they totally blow up their accounts despite knowing exactly what the rules are. Why? Because those actions are symptoms of your underlying identity. They are not a failure of your mechanics. You simply cannot fix an identity problem with a fancy new technical indicator. Which transitions us perfectly into section 2, inherited money trauma. It's time to understand the subconscious demons actively hijacking your decisions. So here's the crucial point. Your brain is literally being held hostage by deep-seated trauma. And we aren't just talking about feeling a little nervous before you click buy. We are talking about deep ancestral psychological programming that is actively driving your fear. This specific trauma is what leads to the suicide trade. You know, that terrible moment where you inexplicably risk way too much or abandon your entire trading plan, blowing up an account, even though you know all the logical rules of your strategy. Consciously, sure, you want profits, but subconsciously, your mind is acting out a completely different script. Get ready to meet the person who was actually trading your account. Because when we break it down, there are multiple versions of you sitting at that desk. When you first enter a trade, you might be the calm, logical planner. But the very second the market moves against you, boom, what happens? The reptilian brain hijack takes over. That primal part of your brain doesn't care at all about your moving averages or your carefully calculated risk to reward ratio. It only cares about survival. It forces a massive biological override, triggering a fight or flight response. That's why you cut your winners way too early out of fear, and you hold on to your losers because psychologically taking a loss feels like a literal physical threat to your survival. Moving right down our agenda, we hit section 3, the dopamine detox. We have to address the agitation of your struggle. Before we actually detox your mind, consider this fascinating community poll data regarding how traders perceive market mechanics. When asked who actually controls price movement, a huge majority of traders point outward. They blame institutions, market makers, or these massive AI algorithms. But doing that completely ignores the internal psychological battle you are actually fighting. The market is really just a mirror. Traders spend all this energy worrying about who is manipulating the price externally, while totally ignoring the fact that their own internal wiring is what's truly sabotaging their success. And man, that brings us to the absolute core of the addiction no one wants to talk about. You have got to stop chasing dopamine and start chasing edge. Honestly, too many traders lose their center because they're letting raw, unfiltered emotions drive the trade. They aren't actually trading for financial freedom anymore. They're just using the markets as a dopamine machine. It becomes a coping mechanism, a way to escape life rather than face it head on. When trading turns into a search for a quick thrill just to break up your boredom, you are no longer operating with an edge. You're just gambling. So, to combat this addiction, you need to adopt a strict dopamine detox protocol. First off, stop flexing charts. Stop trying to show off to strangers on the internet and just show up to do the work. Second, completely eliminate that chaotic market noise. Third, focus strictly on your process, not the shiny outcome or the money. And fourth, treat your trading as a practice in self-mastery. You have to rewire your brain for consistency if you ever want to silence the noise of the financial matrix. Which brings us to our final stop, section 4, the 15-minute ritual. We've diagnosed the trauma, now let's structurally rebuild your routine. When you ask the community what trading actually is, the poll data is pretty revealing. At its highest form, it's not just a job. It's not just a war you wage against the charts. It is an art. It's life mirrored back at you, requiring absolute self-mastery. You're stepping into the arena not to impress anyone, but to express your edge. Kind of like a samurai mastering his sword, right? Before you master the market, you absolutely have to master your own mind. So, to become that centered samurai, you've got to implement a very specific routine. We're talking about following exact chronological steps every single morning. Step 1, acknowledge your trading shadow. You have to actively face the dark parts of your psychology that want to sabotage you. Step 2, run the humility protocol. Accept right now that the market owes you absolutely nothing. Step 3, execute the worthiness ritual. Overcome that deep imposter syndrome that makes you subconsciously reject success. And finally, step 4, step into the reality architect identity. This 15-minute routine is literally the bridge that shifts you from a trauma-driven gambler to a centered elite operator. By fully integrating this ritual into your morning, you become the reality architect. You finally stop playing a finite game, a game where you're just obsessing over the profit or loss of the very next trade. Instead, you step into the infinite game. In the infinite game, your goal isn't just to make a quick buck. It's about psychological growth, continuous self-mastery, and true long-term consistency. The profits? Well, they simply become a natural byproduct of the new person you have become. I want to leave you with a really provocative question drawn directly from the community to reflect on before your very next trading session. Every single trade you take is a test. It's a test of your focus. It's a test of your edge. It's a test of yourself. So, who shows up when you click? Is it the traumatized gambler blindly chasing dopamine, or is it the reality architect? Ultimately, your financial success comes down to exactly who you choose to be in that critical split-second moment. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.